Return to the Sunset Strip. Now, there's been many full circle moments in my life, and none of them more poignant than my return to the Sunset Strip. Now, it took many, many years, decades, for me to make my return, to get back on that strip and play a gig after my time, after leaving LA in 1994, 2 weeks before the Northridge earthquake. And I left LA, and I left metal, and I left hard rock, and I went to Nashville, and it was on to other things. And it was very slow process. You know, going from playing the strip to playing smooth jazz and playing in blues bars and playing, you know, in showcases and playing and doing crappy sessions with terrible artists and slogging it out in the clubs for decades and decades. And then, you know, eventually getting a road gig and making it 3 weeks and getting canned. A lot of these videos are in the members section of my channel, and it's just such a long story. I never really ever seemed like I would get back to the Sunset Strip. You know, I always thought, man, wouldn't it be great to go back and play the Whisky and play you know, the Roxy and all that kind of stuff. And man, whenever I would go out to California, even if it was like, you know, we would play, I don't know, so we'd play, what was San Bernardino. We used to play a country bar in San Bernardino a lot. I used to always love going out west. For one, you're going to get excellent Mexican food in LA, and something you wouldn't get in Tennessee. But, you know, just that California vibe, the California girls, the sunshine, you know, all of that, man. Always, whenever California was on my tour schedule later in life, much, much later, because like I said, my first gig, you know, in Nashville was playing smooth jazz, and that was not going to get me on the big stage again, and that was not going to get me back on the Sunset Strip. And man, it took me to about from 1994 to 2013 to make it back to the Sunset Strip. And it was just this long, slow grind. And, you know, there were some cool things in between, like getting to stay at I think it was the Beverly Hills Hilton, and playing the Jerry Lewis telethon. That's probably a whole story of its own. But, you know, that put me in LA, and, you know, I would go out to the Rainbow, you know, each night after we were there 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 days before we played. And then, you know, we played, you know, early in the afternoon, played the telethon, broadcast on TV, and then I'd go to the Rainbow afterwards, and I'd see Lemmy at the bar. And, you know, it just, you know, always LA always held a place in my heart. You know, it's where my youth, misspent youth, was spent, and going out to LA was always something I would look forward to in tour schedules and doing things on the road. But you know, these kind of acts, and this is maybe something the people, the owners of you know, the Whisky and the owners of the Roxy should probably do. Why aren't they having some of these rockin' country acts play there? Why aren't they having, you know, some of these rocking pop, you know, style groups? You've got to change with the times, just like I had to. You can't just mine the same mine shaft when the gold runs out. And, you know, so that's something to consider. Why they didn't do that? Why didn't Colt Ford play the Whisky? I think that we would have fit in just fine there. Certainly with me playing guitar, you would have had plenty of guy liner and hair products on stage. But, flashing back to looking on the calendar and seeing we're going to play the House of Blues on the Sunset Strip. And I think this was probably 2013, if I remember correctly. And I had made contact. Let's see, how did I do that? I had made contact with a guitar company called GJ2. And they had Grover Jackson and John Gold. And they were putting together a new company to get Grover Jackson back on the scene and get him building guitars again. And so I had reached out to them. I don't remember if I met them, where I met them, but man, Grover Jackson was a huge hero to me. My really nice guitar that I played on the Strip was a Jackson Soloist from back in the day, way back when they were made in America with the original Floyd Roses on them. And that was a great guitar that I lost in a pawn shop. I regret that. Every now and then I'll go on Reverb and look and see if I can find it. I've never been able to find that guitar. No, it was pretty rare. It was a Daphne Blue Jackson Soloist. And I used to put a little piece of black electrical tape on the end of the tremolo bar. So I don't know if that would still be there, but man, what a super cool guitar. I wish I could find that. But I had made contact with, okay, now I remember where it was. There was not a pre-NAMM show or something like that thing at Soundcheck, which is a rehearsal facility in Nashville. And they had opened up a room, and this guy was, introducing touring players to products to use on the road. And so GJ2 was there. So I met them. I played one of their guitars. I go, this is super cool. I introduced themselves, said, look, I used to play the Sunset Strip. Now I'm on the road with this country artist. And, we were starting to build momentum in the fact that we were going to be opening for Florida Georgia Line on their big first, the cruise tour and all that. So I had reached out to them and emailed them and said, hey, man, I'm going to be playing the Sunset Strip at the House of Blues, and I would love for you guys to come out. I'm a big fan of you guys' guitars. I'd like to, use some of your guitars on the road and all this. And so they said, yeah, that sounds really cool. Can you put us on the list? Yeah, I'll put you on the list. So we get, we pull up our, redneck asses at that point to the Sunset Strip. The tour bus pulls up. We get out. Here I am. I'm back on the Strip. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. And I think because of the way the town and navigating the town, that we chose to use backline on this gig as opposed to being able to get at our trailer. The load in was just going to be too difficult. So I believe we used a backline, and my standard backline with Colt Ford was 2 JCM 800 heads, 100-watt heads, and 2 412 cabs. And then what I would do is I'd run my pedal board left and right out of my stereo delay into the 2 amps, and boom. And then what they would do is they would turn the 412s facing the back wall, so it wouldn't be just blasting off the front of the stage. But man, that was always such a killer setup doing that. When I kick in my solos and I kick in that delay, and the delay would be ping-ponging back and forth, and I'd have my overdrive pedals in front of the Marshall, and man, it just sounded incredible. So we were booked on that. We're playing the Strip. I got Grover Jackson and John Gold coming to the show. And then I think we also had the guys from ESP were taking a look at us at the time. And so that guy was there. And then we also had, I also had my old bandmate, Greg Babuccio, our bass player for Shock and Boy Elroy. I had him come out, and I had Johnny D, Wild and Free, Sweet Johnny D, who was like our MC. He would come out and introduce the band. He was like an integral part of, the band, as far as we'd always have him come out and he'd come up with these introductions, and he'd, like we played a New Year's gig once and he came out in a diaper and drinking beer out of a baby's bottle, just do stuff like this. So Johnny D and Greg Babuccio, and they came out to the show. And of course, it's the Sunset Strip, and I got my red Strat with, just beat to heck with stickers all over it and blood and everything else. And I had my eyeliner just, caked on. And at that point in time, I had grown this black beard and I had this long hair. And man, it was my return to the Sunset Strip. And man, whenever I would play shows like that, man, I would just let it fly. I would just be on fire. And I'd run to the front of the stage on my solos and it just felt like I was home, like I finally made it back to the Sunset Strip. Now, I know it wasn't the Whisky and it wasn't the Roxy, and I wish it had been. But man, that House of Blues was an incredible venue. And it's a shame that House of Blues is now gone. But man, it was right there across. We went for lunch across. There's like some kind of like road. It was like a country themed bar that has like a bull, mechanical bull. Let me know in the comments if you know what the name of that place was. But we went over there for lunch, right? And we saw Seth Binzer or Bindle, or what was his name? The guy from Crazy Town. We saw him in there, and he was kind of eyeing us, and we were kind of eyeing him. And, it seemed like it was a place where he'd go and meet tourists and help them, hook up with, things. And, so we were like, oh, dude, it's Seth. And he had just been on Celebrity Rehab at the time. So we were just like, oh, God, don't want to hang out with that guy. And so, we did our sound check and we played our show. Grover Jackson was there, and I got my picture taken with Grover Jackson holding a can of PBR. I used to drink PBR beer. I used to love rot gut beer back then. So we would always have PBR. We put PBR on our rider. I just liked the nasty aftertaste it had, and you felt like you were drinking something. And man, it was an incredible night. I got to hang out with my old buddies. They came backstage. We're taking pictures. We're doing things that we're not supposed to do. And I tried to get Greg to go with us to the Rainbow. But he was like, nah, I'm good. And we ended up going to the Rainbow. And then, after hanging out with Grover Jackson and kind of making a connection with them, the guy for ESP at the time, and I'm not going to name his name, but man, he was on us like white on rice, right? And he had come with party supplies, and he's like, trying to get everybody to party with him, and he's just driving us crazy. You guys are my guys, and you guys you're gonna be part of my family, and just talking all this like crazy speaking. And I'm like, cool, man. Frank, I was playing 80s style guitar kind of on that gig just because, just trying to find my way on that gig. I wasn't really a country player, so I'm like, I gotta play to my strength, and I'm on the Sunset Strip, so what else am I gonna do? Put me on a big stage, and all of a sudden the arena rock is gonna come out of me. And so he's like bugging us every 5 minutes and trying to, get us to go into the bathroom with him. I'm like, dude, I'm good right now. I'm good. And it was back in the private bathroom days of the Rainbow. Now, it used to be you could just, if you knew, you just walk straight into the kitchen of the Rainbow, and there's that back bathroom, and you just walk straight in that bathroom, and you do whatever you're going to do, whether it's go to the bathroom or people would go in there and this, or they do this. You can hear about this in my interview with Billy McCarthy of DeMalls, which is on my channel. He talks about being in there with a certain rock star, and it's in his book. But yeah, that was kind of the known thing. If you were a regular at the Rainbow, you just walk straight in the kitchen and go in the little back bathroom there. And the last time I went to the Rainbow, they were like, no, they had stopped people from doing that. But, back in the day, that was what you do. If you knew, you just go straight in, because the upstairs bathrooms at the Rainbow, man, it's only a couple stalls, or one stall and one, pisser. And they would always be occupied. And then it's just, you're cramped in this little hallway, and you're standing in line, and it's like, nah, dude, I'm just going to go straight to the kitchen. So I made it back to the Sunset Strip. I played a Triumphant show at the House of Blues on the Sunset Strip. I partied at the Rainbow. We had guitar endorsement guys, trying to give us party favors. I got to party with the legendary Grover Jackson. He didn't follow us to the Rainbow. Grover's been there, done that. So for me, I just made the contact with those guys and got a deal with those guys as far as, getting a discount, I think a 50% off or something like that. And I did play some of their guitars. I used one in the High Life video for Colt Ford. I played a GJ2 Gold Strat. But on the actual recording, I used a Les Paul on that. That's one of my favorite tracks, standout track for me. So I played the intro little, like an AC/DC kind of plucked part. And then the solo is me on that, and the outro licks. But yeah, man, making it full circle back to the Sunset Strip, return of the Sunset Strip. And oh man, it was a glorious night. Free guitars were on the way. ESP guitars, a deal with Grover Jackson. I'm playing 2 Marshalls through 2 412 cabs. We end up partying at the Rainbow. There's, I think Ron Jeremy was there that night. It was just a epic night, and to come full circle like that, and to see my old bandmate from Shock and Boy Elroy at the show right up front, like, fist raised, and Johnny D out in the crowd, and he's up there, and they're just, man, it was just a triumphant night, my return to the Sunset Strip.